house.
Then when it comes
Go
down
find him.
to my-
Like we have to move it. Yeah. Sounds good. All right. Can we get started? You know. I'll do the business. All right, let's get the meeting on the road. So seems like we got a pretty good group over here, but if you want to see the presentation, you got to be on this side. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Jeremy Enster, ZLQ, club president, and as we normally do, we will go around the room.
Jim, W3JNF. Vince, WA3ABI.
David, KA3 and UD.
Jeff, WA3RIZ.
Bill, WB3CQK.
Dick, K3ITH.
Everyone, Bill, W1CLK.
Blue WX3I.
C Kilo 3 Fox Zulu Tango.
Travis, N3ILS.
Brian, AA3BK. Rob, WA3S.
Dominic J 3 Katie 3
Alan, AB3.
Well, I'm gonna be a 3 US.
Bob, N3JIZ.
Chris, K0BUF.
Ned, WQ3Z, am I making the machine?
Yes. We hear you.
All right, this might be a record turnout for the room. So before we get started, I want to thank the St. Matthew's United Methodist Church for hosting us for the last 8 meetings or so. I think it's been really great. Looking forward to meeting back here next year. December, there won't be a meeting because we're going to have the holiday party. So actually, Dennis, you want to come up and tell us about the holiday party?
Mark does a couple of philanthropic things. One is our holiday party. We will fund 50% of your expenses. So it'll cost you $10 for the Uno's Newtown Square menu, no alcohol though. And therefore you get $10 back of your $20 membership, right? So you can't really beat that. Unfortunately or fortunately, Uno's requires 25 people in order to secure this very nice back bedroom with a gas fireplace and a big screen TV, beautiful room, away from the crowds and all that other stuff. And right now we're looking at about 16. So if anybody would like to sign up that hasn't signed up, you can see me and I'll put you on the list. If not, there'll be 2 more blast emails going out saying we gotta get a couple more people.
And what's the date?
The date is
Saturday.
Saturday, the 14th.
I knew this.
At noon.
At noon, yes. And we have to, like I said, we have 16 now, but we need to secure. I can sort of say we got 25 or something. And we might have about 25, because it's a huge room, it's probably about 50.
Easily.
Nice
Yeah.
one too, yeah.
Okay, so that's our holiday party.
Thanks. Actually, while you're up here, you want to talk about repeaters?
We should definitely have them. Yes.
Why don't you come on camera, be on the internet?
Let's see, so repeater, there's Thanks to Steve, K through ZFT and I. We both got a lot of grief from our respective spouses, but we went to the Darby repeater site twice. And if you don't know about the Darby repeater site, it is a real thrill. Because there's a spiral staircase and you need to get up there.
That was designed for the average man in 1920.
Yeah.
That's about like 5'4".
Yeah,
Nice.
Even Steve and I had a little difficulty going up there, but we had a particular problem with our fusion repeater. So Mark Darby is actually what used to be the DC area. It's Children's Hospital. It has 50-foot crank over grown 50G tower, whatever it's not the 25G, but the regular 50G tower. 3 superstation master antennas. A 2-meter antenna is 24 feet long. Okay. And it's 1.5-inch flex on hardline all the way up to the top. The current configuration is we used to run an EF Johnson 1100, which was bought in 1985, which finally went belly up, and I'm not going to fix something. Let's get tankless as that thing. So if you know anything about repeater hardware these days, there's not a lot of choices. The other marks, VHF repeaters are basically Kenwood TK750s, no longer being made. They're Exxon repeaters. They've been on at Piggly and Newtown Square for at least a decade now. So in trying to get something going, there's another up and coming company called Bridgecom. Everybody makes repeaters the way I don't like to see it. They take two mobile transceivers and stick them in the box. Even Yaesu does that, okay, so let's not cause any alarm. So Bridgecom takes two foreign transceivers, sticks them in a box, whatever, and I try to go back and forth with to see what the what various websites and all that discussion there's, but nothing overly bad, and price point was pretty good. So we're running a 2-meter repeater 147.36 cross link to 224.5 on 220. So you might say, well, that's kind of stupid to have a 220 repeater cross link. The history of that is very interesting. The original DCRA had a 2-meter repeater and a 220 repeater under the novice enhancement. There was a little quirk in the licensing in the late 70s, early 80s, where novices could get on 220 voice.
Yeah.
And if I cross-link them to 2 meters, they could talk to the rest of the ham population. So the DCRA, the old DCRA actually put the 220 repeater on. So the legacy lines, we still have a very antenna there. Now we're gonna need Bridgecom. But that brings us to UHF. UHF at one time was a majority repeater. I think some people recognize that name.
I remember the magic.
He's finally got value up after 35 years too. So we're running, currently we're running a Yaesu DR2X, which is the current version. So let me give you the sad story. There was a service call for the hospital public service radio. This is not being recorded, is it?
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
You get the censored version.
The fellow doing the service call for the public service radio for the hospital said that the noise floor was running about minus 90 SN over interference. He said, when your repeater's up on 440, the HTs are basically dead to the world. And we have recently, through Steve's effort as a portable digital node, put it on a very popular room called Kansas City Y, which is extremely popular, busy all day. So we got this call, great, kind of a panic. Okay, so the long story short is the fix was courtesy of Jeff WN3A. We got a bandpass filter on the transmitter to get rid of the phase noise. There was a phase noise problem coming out of the transmitter. Now, since that happened and we had it done, I wrote to Yaesu, and it's John Clark, I forgot his call sign. He was a big Yaesu guy. I've not heard back one thing. I told him about what we ran into, that other people might be concerned if they're trying to run a Yaesu DR2X in a public service environment, So we'll see if they ever even answer us. But that's not the biggest problem. So we got the TR2X there, we got that fixed. Okay, what's next? We went up to put in a new duplexer, the original duplexer on 440. This is why the tech committee gets worn out very quickly, to tell you the truth. The original duplexer on 440 dates to the early 1980s. It's a Wacom, no, it's a 12-stage duplexer. And when I made some measurements, it looked like it had about over 2 dB loss, and not supposed to have 2 dB loss. And of course, we lose the power, right? Okay, so Jeff provided, not for free, but he did provide a brand new 12-stage like 4-cavity duplexer, 1 dB loss, it cleans up and everything's fine. So we made a trip up there and we put it in line. Now, port noise complaint, great. Not a lot of people are on the air. So we're there trying to see if everything's working, and I got the HT out. It works great standing in front of the cabinet with the HT, everything's fine. In fact, we turned the 220 repeater on finally, and I got a call from Chris N3CB, who was at Mobile. He says it sounds fine on the link. Okay, great. So, UHF sounds great. I go down spiral staircase, get back in the car, drive up Lansdowne Avenue. I noticed the receive strength doesn't sound too good. By the time I got to Newtown Square, I could barely hear it. So it sat like that for about 3 weeks until Steve and I could get back up there. And it turns out we had a bad jumper cable after making measurements, because at one point we had like less than a watt output or something. So we got that done. So this is what the problem is. Now, the good news is, if you're interested in Yaesu Fusion, through Steve's effort, oh, by the way, I want to say thanks to Vince, who actually we arranged for him to get on here, and you can tell that was good for her. So that sounds good.
Actually, I really want to go further and express my appreciation to Vince because you can't fix a problem if you don't know it exists. And Vince made sure I was aware there was a problem, but initially he had questions about the configuration of wires X, and then after we were up there, the performance. But he was persistent and very clear about what the issues are. So let me just say, I welcome your phone calls, your email about problems with the 05 machine.
2 a.m. phone calls.
Yeah, don't call me at 2 a.m. I'll take your emails.
Now, if you wanna listen to it, if you don't have Fusion, you can see the signal strength, but if you have Fusion, you have to listen. It's only running 10 watts, right? To the antenna, it's 1.5 Heliax hard line up to a superstation master antenna on 440. Up at about 140 feet or so out of the hospital. Okay, so that's that. And Steve is running up what we call portable digital node. The hospital don't want to provide any internet connection. We don't want to spend money on Wi-Fi or anything like that, so we're not going to do that. So Steve's doing a PDN there to Kansas City Y.
I have an HRI 200.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, the other HR, I have a PDN. And I'm doing a PDN on the FDM 100 to Paoli, where I'm trying to get some local activity going. This is the Philadelphia area. There are about a dozen fusion repeaters, none of which talk to one. They just sit there all day long. I'm trying to convince people that we want to at least have a ring where we can all connect to, at least, convert different clubs. But so far, nothing. But there is something called Kansas City Y, not Kansas, Keystone Y, which is 80% in Erie and Lackawanna and Beaver County and, way up there. And, it's snowing over there, we're 80 degrees and we heard right. But the Reading repeater on Fusion just came back on, and there is an Allentown Fusion repeater, so at least you can talk to these Reading, Allentown, and Fusion. So certainly invite you to do that too. Okay?
All right,
So that's our review.
thank you. I think we should give a round of applause for Dennis. For Dennis. Yeah, Dennis has really outdone himself the last year or two, keeping the repeaters up and running. I think
Is the 224-42 repeater on?
that's Bryn Mawr.
Yeah.
I think technically, yeah, we can talk later. All right, maybe before we get too far ahead, Lou, did you have a treasurer's report?
I do, currently in the bank, we have $18,009.53. All bills have been made from the bank, but apparently some of the checks are having trouble making it to their destination, so I'm keeping an eye on that. Well. It just.
Thanks, Lou.
And as far as members, we currently have 83 members.
Thanks. Jim, do you want to talk about public service?
There's not a whole lot to talk about right now. All the public service events went very well last year. Charles Bender Swim, the Radnor Run, the parade, everything went well. Probably the next big event will be April-ish, May. So we'll keep you posted on that, and it'll be on the website. Thanks to Dennis. All right, thank you.
So the clipboards are down in the Bahamas
Yes.
working on their tan.
Yes.
All right. Bob, did you want to come up and talk about Hamfest? Or volunteers?
Yeah.
So our Amfest season is kind of winding down for this year, but of course it'll start up again next year, hopefully. And I guess as far as Hamfest is concerned, pretty much, we just need lots of people to help out. Even in the preseason, we need people to help out. If you're going to a Hamfest, he could bring Hamfest flyers to the Hamfest and hand them out to the vendors, anybody else who wants them. And hopefully we'll have the Hamfest flyers printed up in time. They usually, I think, first Hamfest usually occurs somewhere in May, I think, somewhere in that ballpark at end of March or end of April, beginning of May.
Warminster is first weekend.
Yeah, Warminster. There's also one in Cherryville, New Jersey, I think. But that's even earlier, I think, but we missed that one this year, but.
You have a hand in the back, Bob.
Do we have a date for 2025?
We do not have an official date. It's basically gonna be the same second Saturday of August,
That's the 9th.
which would be the 9th, yeah. So but we have to talk to the fire company, what's that?
Saturday or Sunday?
Sunday,
The 10th.
Sunday the 10th, so. But we have to talk to the fire company and make sure it's nailed down with them. Okay. So,
Very much.
yeah. So anyway, as some of you may know, we've kind of been battling the sound system at the Hamfest for a number of years. And about 2 years ago, we promised the fire company that we would put more speakers up on the side of the south side of the building and get them all wired up, because the ones we had up there, a contractor came in and ripped all the wires up and made them completely unusable. So anyway, that was like 2 years ago, and now they're kind of the fire company's getting rather antsy. They want their speakers, they want what was promised, which because they give us a break on the rental. So, you know, it's fair, turnabout's fair play. So anyway, this past we're on to this past Saturday, but anyway, Saturday the 16th, Michael Weldon and myself, Michael Weldon's K2 MPW, he's kind of our guardian angel of the sound system, I think, because he's provided us with a number of pieces of equipment and lots of technical expertise, and he's now involved, with us still in the planning of putting up, additional speakers and rewiring everything. Basically, we looked over everything that was at the A building there, and things have actually changed. We had originally planned to take both of the speakers that were at the peak of the building down and put one of the larger speakers that was under the eave, put that up there because it was so big and it didn't really fit under the eave, and it was digging into the siding and stuff like that. And anyway, long story short, between the Hamfest and now, the fire company had somebody go up there and they changed the light from a mercury vapor or metal halide or whatever it was to an LED. And they also rewired, took the speaker that down that didn't work, and rewired the speaker that was up there. So that was one thing that happened. The other thing, that speaker that didn't work, we were planning on seeing if we could fix it. Michael Weldon says a lot of times the horn speakers get mud wasp nests in them, and as soon as the mud packs in there, they don't work anymore. Funny thing. And so we thought we could just clean it out maybe and tighten the connections and maybe it would work. But that speaker's gone, that's off the table now. And we also got to look up in the ceiling of the A building, at least the vestibule area where the restrooms are. And we were planning on bringing a wire from down and back up to the other speaker and do some switching arrangements. But they I guess last year, I guess they had a pipe burst during the winter, and it made a mess, of course. And so now they've insulated all of the ceiling, like just above the drop ceiling. And it's like impossible to get up to access anything, with the amount of time and resources that we have, it's it's not gonna happen. So anyway, that was one thing we learned. The other things we kind of mapped out, tried to map out the existing sound systems, the way it's connected. They have a switch that was in there for a while now. It's it goes to the fair. One position is to the fair, one position's off, and then the other one is for the barns. So basically you could power up the sound system in the A building, and you can send that sound into the barns if you wanted to. Or I think is what they do when they have the fair, they just flip that switch to the fair, and then the sound power comes from their main amplifier house. And it runs the fair building. So anyway, we kind of mapped that out, and so now we were gonna add a 2 jacks. We're gonna try to have a system where we can control the outside speakers by themselves, and separate from the inside speakers, so that way you don't blow everybody's eardrums out inside when we get enough sound outside. And then of course we have a switch on there that can tie these things together and make it all work and everything. And Michael was able to make some CAD drawings of what we propose to do, and so that when we actually do it, we can post this next to the switches so that people can maybe see what does what, because right now it's all guesswork, kind of. So that's a couple of things we did. The other thing is we checked out our amplifier kind of in depth, and found that it at least has a bad input pot on it, on the one channel that we were using, which causes the sound to go up and down even when nobody's touching the knob. And then we tried the other channel, and a little bit of wisp of smoke rolled out of the amplifier. So I think we only have a 1-channel amplifier at the moment, and of course, to accomplish what we're trying to do with 2 channels, where you have an outside channel and an inside channel, probably means we should buy another amplifier, which Mike looked on Facebook Marketplace and found a possible amplifier that was available in Royersford. Guy was selling 3 of these, so it looks like we'll probably check into those. It's also possible that we might be able to get the amplifier that we have fixed, but the only trouble is it's been out of production for years, and we don't have a schematic for it. We have a manual for it, but we don't have a schematic. So anyway, it's kind of a work in progress. Yeah.
So rather than take your chances on a Facebook purchase, are these things so expensive we can't afford to buy one new?
Well, I don't know, we haven't really priced new ones, but they are pricey. The Facebook ones on Facebook, they want $200 a piece for them, which is, it's a no-brainer. And also I found out that the amplifier that we have, it actually came from a guy named Mike Salvaggio, I think. And he gave it to Michael, and then Michael gave it to us. And anyway, apparently this Mike guy is Mike and Mike are talking to each other, and Mike is in the business of PA systems and sound reinforcement and stuff. And he said that it's a Crown CDI 1000 amplifier, and he said that was probably a decent amp. Yeah, maybe we should look into a new one, based on our treasury.
Yeah, unless it's thousands with an S.
Yeah, it would probably be at least 1,000, I would think. Maybe 2, but
To just secure it so everybody will walk up with it.
yeah. So let's see what else.
And if it's just if the sound is just going in and out, could it just be that the pot needs to have its contacts cleaned?
Yeah, well, that's, we're gonna try that, we're gonna deoxit out, and a little deoxit, try that, but.
But it's in the barn or shed all the time, right?
No, it lives in my garage,
Oh,
so
okay.
it's not, it's not really heated, but it doesn't really freeze either, so. And it doesn't get like super duper hot, so.
Right.
But channel 2 lost the magic smoke, so
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
probably not easily fixable.
That would be a lot more difficult to fix,
Unless like an obvious cap or something that could just be soldered in.
yeah.
But the ones on Facebook, can they both, can either, can one of them handle both channels? One side and the other side?
I don't know the details on the crown yet, Michael just, brought this to me like. On a text, so I don't know anything about the crown yet, so. And of course, we're racing against the weather, and I don't think we're doing too well. As far as getting the speakers up, we hopefully will wanna get these speakers installed, before the end of the year. Which means it kind of looks like it'll be a day or a Saturday in December. Which isn't a great.
Perfect tower weather, so.
Yeah.
Perfect.
You'll be
Harder the rain fall.
Yeah. So if anybody's interested in helping, we'll try to, put the word out when we're gonna be over there, because we could definitely use. A couple people out there to just to, man the ladders, put the ladders, even, if you're not
Only
gonna
if you have
climb.
spiral staircase.
Do you have your ladders, do you have ladders or?
Yeah, I have a ladder that will reach the soffit or whatever. I have one ladder, if anybody else has a ladder, that'd be great if we
You
get.
could
like
stack
two-
one on
two
top of the
people.
other.
Yeah.
If we get two people to, work on,
Do you have
start
a
on one
wire
end,
company for ladders?
work into the other.
We don't wanna do that.
Don't wanna do that?
No.
Okay.
But
They can call it a training mission, and we could teach them how to do it.
I mean, if we've been pushing their button, because we haven't delivered, then that just gonna set them over the edge. Right?
Well, originally I would, I was kind of wanted to mention that, we wanted to see if they take their aerial ladder truck out and help us. With the one on the peak of the roof, but since that's kind of out of the picture now, that we don't need to ask them.
Yeah.
But that one is really high, that was the peak of the roof, it's like, I don't know, 25 feet or 30 feet or something like that, so. Anyway,
All right, thanks, Bob. Good, give Bob a round of applause. Let's see, Brian, did you want to say anything quick about VE testing?
We had a very good session,
It was November 5th or something like that.
yeah, first Saturday in November. We had 6 people show up. And one of those who passed, actually passed 2 tests. So she got 2 for the price of 1. And then she joined the club afterwards.
Welcome.
I am Katie 3 ACM, as a general license.
Next session is.
That's the other issue.
Extra in February, start working on your Smith charts.
I'll be sending out reminders to the BE team.
All right, thanks, Brian. Ned, did you want to say a quick word on breakfast?
Oh. Breakfast,
Oh,
sure, breakfast, this Saturday, Andy's Diner,
9 AM.
9 AM. Ridge Pike near 476 Blue Route. If you've never been to one of our breakfasts and you're here during talking on the way in, it's breakfast on cue, I'm buying your breakfast.
All right, steak and eggs, right?
Yeah.
Whatever, it's a diner.
Mimosas.
And they have a liquor license check.
Yeah. All right, Any other club business before we move on to elections? Else, I guess we have to break the suspense and find out who won the election.
I can recount.
Yeah.
Well, it was very close, very close, very close. After tabulating all the votes, I'm gonna be quick, because I wanna get to the presentation here. The president is Jeremy. Vice President, Jim Foster, myself. Secretary, Brian Kelly. Treasurer will be Lou Root. We have a new member at large, our last one that stepped down. His name is John Brosnan, W3BUD. He's been to a couple meetings, I don't know if you know him, but he's a real good guy. Technical Services, Dennis Salage. Public Service, Jim Foster, I get 2 positions.
Double pay.
Program Chair, Jeremy Carlo, he's
Also, double pay.
We do have 2 vacant positions in case anybody's interested throughout the year, Public Relations and Member Services, so if you're interested in either of those, see me at some point. But thanks for the response, we had a fairly good response, out of 83 members, we had a good response, so thank you all.
Thanks, Jim, for running our elections. Thank you for everyone who served, everyone who stepped up. Also want to thank Ned for his services. We're glad to have you on the board and wish you well in everything you're going to be doing in the future. And you're still doing the breakfast, right? That's the important thing. Guys, let's thank everyone. All right, now comes the part I think everyone's been waiting for. I've been looking forward to this for quite a while. So the Jim Fisher Memorial Digital Network Association has existed around here for a while, and I think that'd be a good idea for us to learn about it. So Steve, K3FZT, is going to come up, give a little introduction, and then we have some folks from the Network Association who are going to tell us all about it.
Thanks, Jeremy. I had to do something since I have been present to have this presentation, so I'll be brief. Jim Fisher was president of Philmont and was hugely active through the Philadelphia County area, putting up notes and talking about the mesh. When he died suddenly in August of 2023, a lot of folks really thought that the best way to memorialize Jim was to keep pressing on expanding the art mesh. The Jim Fisher Memorial Digital Networking Association is a 501c3 nonprofit. Those of you who want to write checks to a charity, feel free to do so. We'll be happy to receive them. Here tonight, managers of the association. We do not have a classic president, vice president structure. We have a group of co-equal managers with tasks divided amongst us. And here with us tonight, in no particular order except looking across the room, is David at KA3MUV, Bill Telford, WB3 CQK, Dick Stewart, K3ITH, and Bill Mongan from W1CLK, who is on the faculty at Versailles. And Bill Telford will lead off and give the talk, and there will be demonstrations of functions of the mesh as it actually exists. So thank you for joining us tonight.
Well, yeah, we're gonna have to maybe do a little bit the video streaming, throwing our technology for a little loop, but we'll work around it. That's the wrong one.
Presenter,
Which button?
left and right or forward and backward. No, no, they
Oh, here.
circular.
I got it.
And we're sharing, so online.
We're sharing it online, okay.
Screens.
So as Steve said, we're memorializing Jim Fisher. And we are trying to extend our networks into the 5-county area. Which is one of the reasons we like to talk to the Delaware County group. In particular. That's this group. Steve talked about the fact that we're a 501c and that we're nonprofit. We do have a website, and on that website, there is a donation link through PayPal. So if you want to use a credit card instead of a check.
If you move that.
Can we move the screen?
Well,
Oh, is it the tripod that's in the way?
the tripod, with the screen itself.
The screen itself?
People over here can't see it all, I barely see it.
See, can we turn?
Can we do this without dropping?
Why don't you just pull the table out?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, they're watching it on YouTube.
Maybe turn it,
All right,
turn it a little.
we can turn it.
Yeah.
And-
Oh, I hit a button.
It's up.
Uh-oh.
Hit the buttons.
Source.
No, it's over here.
We lost our mesh.
Tripod's about to fall off here. Change inputs.
Yeah, I think so.
There we go.
PC.
Where are you plugged in the back, Joe?
There it is, there it is, there you go. Look,
There it goes.
So, yeah, uncomfortable.
Nothing.
Here it is. All right.
Good. All right. I'm not touching anything else. And those guys back there are watching it on YouTube. Okay, good.
Oh, I'd have to reactivate this screen.
Oh, yeah. Go the old school way. If it catches up with me. So the mission for the group is twofold. One of the major activities that we're looking to do is involves activities around STEM, educational activities, and use this as a platform to show prospective amateur radio operators, as well as students who are interested in getting into a career in networking, technologies, whatever, that there is value in participating in this type of an activity. We've been relatively successful and Bill is an example of that, of getting some interest within the local universities and private schools. And getting some curriculum there where we're involved, and Bill is starting to engage his students in the mesh on the campus at our science. The main thing that we're trying to do with the radio community is also use this for an auxiliary emergency network environment. So how many people here have heard about the mesh? Okay, so you know, yes, raise your hand, David. You are in mesh. Realistically, it's the same as your home internet, just not connected to a commercial internet. It's a private network that we're setting up, hopefully, eventually. This is the full team that we talked about. Pretty much half of us are here today. So it's worth talking a little bit about Arden and what Arden really is. The Amateur Radio Emergency Digital Networking Group, which maintains this firmware and identifies the hardware that they're going to support. And it's off-the-shelf stuff. So these type of access points that we're using are just standard off the shelf. You can go to Micro Center or order it on Amazon. Same type of stuff you would typically use at home. But it's being modified to use special firmware. And part of the advantage of Arden and its networks is that it's using, instead of trying to compete with the unlicensed home networks, we have some frequencies on the 2.4 and the 5 gigahertz band that are primarily allocated for amateur radio usage, and we can adjust the radios, these equipment, to use those frequencies. And if there's any questions, just call out.
Yeah, I have one. You said this is, the vision is, this is gonna be an emergency network.
That's part of it, yes.
Is there an integration plan with Aries Racing?
Yes, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. We talked about the firmware. One of the advantages of the mesh network is you can configure a node, stick it up. It'll look around for adjacent nodes, things that it can see, and connect. There's not a lot of configuration once you got everything all set up and working. And it'll try and find the best path across that network. So it's a relatively simple and, well, sometimes it's a relatively simple configuration to set up. The hardest part that throws people for a loop is getting the firmware installed on their equipment. That can be a little bit of a challenge to some folks if you haven't done that kind of thing. So it's more than just taking it out of the box and doing it. Well, we've got a lot of folks around the table here who can help with that, if you're interested. So this is what we typically are looking at from an RF configuration. If you look up here, we're looking at point-to-point nodes between, let's say, a hospital or between a tower configuration, between the Emergency Operations Center in Montgomery County, where we actually do. So if we're talking about Aries Races, we have the integration already set up at the Montgomery County Emergency Operations Center. We'd like to do all of the emergency operations centers, but dealing with the politics around this kind of stuff. Well, you know, we've been pretty lucky with Dick having some involvement there and being part of the Aries Racing. What's your official district?
District Emergency Coordinator for the 5 counties in and around Philadelphia.
There you go. So Dick's participation has been key to getting some, yeah. Very. Yeah, Dick's participation has been really key. And we've had some funding coming from the county, from Montgomery County. We're looking at, we've got some folks on the team who are on Bucks County, and I'm kind of on the border between Bucks and Montgomery County out in Abingdon, where I live. So I kind of benefit from either side being set up. And we're trying to get the RF network in place as much as possible, independent of any type of internet connectivity. The challenge is we need high spaces. We need clear paths. And we got a lot of trees around here. A lot of the original network was developed out in California. We want time because we leave enough time for the real demos, for the fun stuff. A lot of the network is developed, and the core team for Arden is in California. They've got a lot of mountains. They've got a lot of clear paths between the nodes. They don't have to deal with the topography problem challenges that we had here on the East Coast. With all the rolling hills and the wonderful trees, which are beautiful, but we have better connectivity many times in the winter time when the leaves fall off the trees than we do in the summer. So not that we hate trees, but they are definitely a challenge when configuring.
It's not high enough power, you burn a hole in the trees.
Well, the 2.4 gigahertz kind of like gets a little better. 5, which is better because the bandwidth is better, but it is a challenge. There have been some recommendations about amplifiers. Questions?
Bill, these ubiquity, antennas, they need to be outside, right? They wouldn't work in an attic.
No, they could conceivably work in an attic if you're close enough to an adjacent node. As long as you're not in a metal roof.
Yeah.
It depends on the construction of your home, but I mean, it's just like any other radio. It's microwave. We're talking about microwaves. So things like snow and rain actually attenuate the signal. Heavy fogs, which is just water vapor, attenuate the signal.
Especially 5, so really.
Yeah, 5 is worse. So a lot of the guys are using 2.4, getting through some of the trees, and they have some success. And now they're happy again. It's fall and they're getting better connectivity. Their bandwidth is better. So
California mountains, they go from San Diego to San Francisco in fewer than 30 hops.
yeah,
Wow.
we're not.
Air's a lot drier there too.
Air's drier, and we're not talking short distances with these. I mean, 15 miles or so in California is not unheard of. Around here, getting a clear path that long, you got to get pretty hot.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised you said that, because I moved out to California for several years. On the coast. And every morning it was fog.
Well, yeah, so they do have to contend with the fog, and yeah, they do have to contend with the fog, and they have to contend with the smoke from the fires.
That's the other.
Yeah, they do have to contend. That has caused a little bit of in some areas where it's gotten really. But overall, and they're also using, they got a little bit better funding in some ways, and they're actually using some commercial 3 gigahertz, and now they're going to 6, which is relatively expensive at this point. And actually for these and for the backbone, and for these backbones, we don't have to use the amateur radio frequencies, so we don't have to use the Arden software. The connectivity benefits for Arden come in at the lower levels, where we're having we want to connect to a specific person or a specific, site. But we can have a nice solid backbone up here at 5 gigahertz. And then down here, off these, what are called,
Oh, it's locked. Unlock it.
Oh,
Pointer.
oh, is that it? Trying to keep you from blinding people.
No,
So,
side buttons. They don't use the side buttons.
So, no.
So if you're not using amateur radio, what is the authorization?
It's unlicensed. It's just the
Therefore interference.
yeah, standard part 95, whatever the home, right?
Okay.
So low power, but enough that we can, go across maybe a 15 or 20. These are pretty, or we want to get these pretty high, right? So we're talking about, and then these are the sector antennas. So now we're looking at something a little closer in, right? We're trying to get a maybe an area, cover a relatively nice area. And then here we're looking at potentially using them for like portable deployments. And that's kind of what Bill's got set over there is these are portable deployments. So we can set them up as we need. So if you want to run a network a local area network at your handfest, you could do that. If you wanted to put cameras on these nodes to feed back to the operations center or to a command post, we can do that. The network is really whatever the internet stuff that you're normally used to using on the internet can be translated to here. And the goal is to reduce as much as possible, like I say, that reliance on the internet and have a complete backbone, at least as much as we can develop it. But that's not always possible.
Quick, are you gonna leverage the,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
you can be independent of the commercial internet, but still use the same algorithms and
Uses all of that.
Right, yeah,
That's all of that, Brian.
well, you have something equivalent to a router.
Yes.
that
Yeah.
uses the
and that's what, and actually, it's not,
same algorithm.
actually, we'll go to the next one here. So,
Communications stack.
Yes.
so for instance, I have one of these little micro ticks sitting over there. I'm using my phone to connect in into a VPN tunnel to the internet. And then I'm connected to the network because we have to bridge it with the internet right now because we just can't do everything via RF. We don't have enough people involved, we don't have the density, and we don't have enough nodes at high enough locations to complete a backbone that gives us the coverage that we want. So that's part of the reason. Another part of the reason we're talking to you guys, because we want to get you guys involved in potentially figuring out if there's locations you know of where we can put nodes. You get your guys' help in managing some of these nodes. If you have a tower, if you have you know, there's nodes at several different locations. We're at Grandview Hospital, the EOC. Bill's going like gangbusters, getting them all over the campus at your sinus. He's the newest member and probably done the most real work at this point. And that's really good because we really want to get the kids involved. We want to get the students involved and show them the value. So the main parts of these are really just like I say, off the shelf access points. So actually I have one of these sitting at home. That is connected to that's providing a connection to the internet so that I can get to the rest of the guys on the mesh because I'm not anywhere, I'm in a valley actually. And I am nowhere where I can get an RF signal right now. There's nobody close enough to me. Maybe if I could get up high enough, I might be able to hit Abington Hospital, which is about 1.5 miles away from me. Once we get the nodes working again better on Abington. And I see if I can talk my wife into a 50-foot tower maybe. Might get me up to high.
Ask for 100 first,
Yeah.
and then 50 will be the compromise.
My brother was in the Air Force, he did the 1,000-foot things. He was willing to come over and help with it. I think that's a pushing it. Because my next door neighbor is getting.
Mark has a tower with 150 feet of Darby.
Well, and we're interested in that. We would be very interested to see if we can get some space from there.
You can get space on it, right? See, it's fun.
There you go. So that actually has, you know, first of all, we're an aging population in the group. Unlike, well, that's some new members there. But then, I mean, the climbing of the tower is a special skill and typically costs some funds. So we're trying to figure out how to negotiate that. So, you know, if folks are going up on a tower already to maintain something and we can piggyback on that and get some nodes up, that's really the perfect opportunity for us. Putting on top of buildings like hospitals and things that are relatively high, where you can have relatively easy access and just kind of walk up or climb up a really short ladder to get to the roof. But Abington is not too bad, except for the staircase going up. So that's the kind of thing that we're looking at. But for those people who, and this is the interim condition, and it'll stay for a long time. This is giving people connectivity via VPN tunnel that can participate into the network. And if we could have hooked my laptop up, I would have been able to show you the network, but we can still do it afterwards when we do the demonstration. Any questions about the hardware?
Yeah, how does this stuff handle up in high RF environments? Because all these great locations are already taken by telco.
It depends on what the RF is. They do okey doke. So for instance, on the 5 gigahertz, on the 2.4 gigahertz band, we've got one amateur radio frequency that is unique. One channel that we can use.
That's two.
-2. which you won't even see on normal routers without the firmware update. So that's why the 2.4 gigahertz, that's an issue. We can still use all the, we could still use the commercial versions and use those frequencies, but then you're contending with your neighbors and everybody else. So the idea for people, but on 5 gigahertz, we've got a lot more frequencies that we can use. And so we could put, we can go back. We could put, different antennas up here, sector antennas up on different channels pointing in different directions, and they wouldn't interfere with each other. Now, if there's other things on that tower, yeah, we're gonna have to think about that. It might attenuate the signal a little bit. There might be some interference, we're gonna have to deal with that, but it's typically not been an issue. Not just for us, but for people who've maybe even a little bit further along with us, sorry.
Now, if you want to put an antenna up on a tower, say at the hospital or something like that, all of your equipment is probably going to be in a hutch someplace. You
Yep.
got a pretty long run. What sort of feed line do you need for that?
Great question. Ethernet.
Yeah, Ethernet, yeah, power over Ethernet.
So the transmitter's right in, as part of the antenna.
So that, again, creates a limitation as to how high we can put things, because we're dealing with limitations around Ethernet.
The transmitter is actually housed in the antenna unit.
Yep.
So you're just sending DC power and signal up the line.
Exactly.
Okay. So this is a antenna, but the transceivers are inside, and this supports power over Ethernet. And then a single cable comes down.
Right. That makes it easier. I'm thinking you're running hard line.
No.
For 5 gigahertz.
So that's a typical set.
Sector antenna,
So that's this guy.
there's the,
Right.
there's the transmitter.
Right. And depending
All antenna.
on the configuration, that they have modules for the transmitter that will handle 2 antennas. So you can use one module, so you're still limited to the amount of power you have to run up and the amount of cables that actually go up.
How much transmit power gain?
100 and, what is the gain on those?
I have seen, maybe on like a dish, you might get as high as 18 to 22.
22 dBs, yeah.
dB, yeah. And the transmitters can depending on what you get, can go, up to maybe 25, 28, almost a lot.
Right, and you're looking at a pretty like 120 degree on that type of an antenna of coverage.
Also, they're very low gain on that.
Right, so but then you're also have to worry about.
You could get 90 degrees separate.
You get 90 degrees second and 120, depending on how many you want to put up there. And you can, but you also have to worry about, depending on height, where you're going, tilt it down. Sometimes you have to get the right, so you have to get the right coverage. And it can be a little bit finicky to plan.
The dish would be more for the backhaul or.
Yeah, this would be more for the backhaul.
A long distance point to point.
Yep.
But if they're on the amateur frequencies, we can go up to 1500 watts of.
Yeah, we can run
TV.
Some of the ones in California.
Blinding satellites.
Some of the backbone nodes in California have been designed at higher.
Yeah.
Transmit powers.
You test it by holding a hot dog in front. It's kind of like it makes it cook.
Well, that's the other thing. You don't want to be standing in front of these guys.
Yeah, they have to be.
Yeah, we do, want to take the right precautions. Again, microwaves. The microwave oven was because somebody had a Hershey bar in the pocket when they were working on one of these things. So yeah, so then I know there's no antennas on that, but that's actually transmits. This is a full access point. And this also has a power over Ethernet port on it. So you could power, a telephone or an IP phone or something off of that with the Ethernet cable. And actually, Bill's got an interesting demonstration around a PBX and a couple of IP phones over there to show you the utility around that. But it also does a 2.4 and 5 gigahertz transceivers. So that little box, and that's actually the one that's sitting over there on the table next to the crucifix. But these are all just variations of that. And then this is just what you would normally see as a home hub. So that you can connect in your home network and get out to the internet via the home. We've had some success in Ben, KE3 KQ has been working with the Upper Providence folks and really got them, that's sitting out in the field full time, unattended. Nobody's messed with it too much at this point. At least not we're aware of. Ben lives nearby and checks on it every now and then. Yeah, even on mist of night. I was surprised we haven't seen any, but it's not in a highly public area. We got a special permit. Ben worked really hard to work with the township commission folks and get a special permit, and that allows us to put the equipment there. And it's really been a good test case for kind of an off the grid kind of a thing, because he's using, you know, solar power and batteries.
Yeah, it helps that the Upper Providence emergency manager is a hand.
It does.
It helped quite a bit, yeah.
Yes, it did.
This is Upper Providence in Montgomery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although he
The lower upper.
he was not particularly active, but now he's getting a little bit more. We're actually starting to put more equipment in there, and he's gonna put his call sign in there.
Good guy.
Yeah, yes, yeah. We also had some success at Hatfield Township with their with no ham radio operator involved, but they're hosting some of our equipment in their data center with a nice bandwidth. So the tunnels that we're setting up, the tunnel that I use at home is going through Hatfield out through their internet, and they've been really accommodating. Their IT guy there has been like, he's put all the rules in place that we needed to get the report forwarding and things that we needed. So it's been a pleasure to work. So we've had some successes with the township folks, and their Upper Providence is really interested in getting Upper Providence really interested in maybe expanding this and putting a few more nodes around.
Again, it's all relationships.
Exactly.
It helps to have a ham radio operator who's a very close friend with the president of the board of commissioners.
There you go.
We only had that in Delaware County.
Yeah, we got to be nice. And Bucks has been a challenge. They're not making much. I think that's my arm. We were up there on top of Abington Hospital playing around a little bit. We need to get back up there. It's right now, nothing's connecting to it. This was one of Jim Fisher's original, it connected, it was close enough to his house, he was able to connect in.
I tried to connect Abington with Jim from my office, 7th floor at 12th and Norris Streets. Could not connect, and it's probably because, as I found out,
The glass?
the glass has lead in it.
Yeah, the glass, really, just like in the cars.
You're off, yeah, oh, they're coming back up.
But this is the visibility you see from the roof. So we just need to get some, relay nodes in place. We have to go back up and really take a more serious look. And you can see Philadelphia over there. There's some stuff over here. There's a nice water tower blocking our path, I think, to the EOC over this direction.
HO? The HO in town?
That's not so much in the way. This is
Oh.
something further off in the distance. Yeah. Anybody can get us on top of the HO?
We're online right now.
Is that up?
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's awesome. Water towers would be great, but again, we need somebody to climb it because we're not doing it. Well, I'm not. I went on top of that, and it was okay. But I was the youngest guy there that day. It was Steve and Tom. But and my wife said, "What are you doing?" I showed her the pictures. And one of the helicopters landed for the trauma helicopters landed while I was up there, so I got a couple of pictures of those too. So again, whatever the commercial internet protocols you can use on this type of mesh network.
With the
realization that RF does not have the bandwidth or the speed that fiber to the home or cable or any of the rest of that. But again, you don't need it for many of the common functions listed there.
Yeah, even the video conferencing and the phone PBX stuff works relatively good if you optimize the codecs, the protocols that they're using to talk. And again, in an educational setting, we're kind of like your science campus would be kind of a standalone test bed that then connects into the rest of the mesh. And when's your networking class start in the spring?
It's gonna be in the spring, yeah.
And Bill's putting his Bill teaches that and he's using that. We're hoping to actually also get a few new hams out of that.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be really, that's something that we're really looking, and we're looking at leveraging this so that, especially with the STEM stuff, there seems to be a little bit of grant money that's available to that we might be able to get some pieces of to help work building out the network.
Bill, is this primarily keyboard to keyboard communication, but I know that there's a ham shack hotline used for it.
Well, that's exactly what we have. We have a PBX, so a standard telephone PBX. Everybody knows what a PBX is?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
That's,
No.
oh, no, okay, so it's basically a private central telephone central office. All the phone, it manages telephone numbers and allocates them to people. So when you make a phone call and you punch a number in on the phone, it knows who to connect to and sends it off to them. We can also do direct via IP as a backup if the PBX is there. But the PBX is nice because it has voicemail, it has it has music on hold, it has all the same functionalities you're used to in a commercial office telephone system. It's kind of cool. So no, it's not all. Again, it's and Steve's good at it was good to see like the bandwidth issues across the network, but voice, video, text, video streaming for cameras. There's a few guys who have cameras on their towers. The folks out in California are using them a lot to monitor the wildfires, that kind of thing.
Yeah, you've got some flight aware.
Yeah.
Guys that are doing that.
Flight aware, anything you can plug into this in there, you'll be able to see. We're putting a DMR hub, for lack of a better phrase, the DMR hub on so that we will be able to have a private DMR network that's part of this, not connected out to the internet, so it's not Brandmeister or any of that. It's just it'll be a JFMDNA DMR hub.
People in Phoenix also have moved Fusion onto mesh.
Yeah, well, anything that can, and people are actually using the mesh out in California and a few other places. I think there's some guys in Tennessee, they have a lot of the same challenges we have as far as topography, but they're using it for linking repeaters instead of using, for word. So yeah, I've covered most of this, but we're just continuing to try and work with as many people as we can, get the word out, get people more involved and hopefully participating with this. And, Steve said donate a little funds. But well, the Montgomery County Mesh folks, I should say something about them because that's really where this all came out of, and they started it out, I mean, along with Jim. But they're a pretty active group, and we have a groups IO group and a weekly Zoom meeting. There we go. Let me skip on this for a minute. We have a groups IO and a weekly Zoom meeting that everybody can participate in. So if you're interested, you can go to the groups IO and request access for the Zoom. And for the groups IO, and we'll get you all set up. There's a Facebook group, it's a private one, so you have to register. We might open up a public one at some point, but right now we just wanted to manage it a little tighter. But if you're interested there, and of course, the website. And email if you have more questions. I'm monitoring. Oops, I want to go back to the second. So I mean, I talked about mostly the goals here, but I mean, really again, getting more involvement, as many people as we can involved, because the more nodes and the higher the nodes we can get, clearer paths, the closer we're gonna get to getting achieving the goal that we're trying to have. And again, part of it is the emergency operations bit. Especially when we're looking at like things like incident management or event type activities that we can support. And deploying setups like Bill has or like Ben did up in Upper Province, because that could be a relay to, to fill in a gap. And part of it's the STEM bit. The other part is just having some fun with it, because that's really one of the things that we really want to do. And it's like anything else. The same reason we have nets and other things is we need to have people not just install the stuff and not know how to use it. They have to be playing with it and using it and becoming familiar with it. Because people buy a walkie. It's like the old prepper thing. They buy a walkie-talkie, you put it on the shelf. It's not programmed. Who are they going to talk to, right? So we need, because this is great for us, because we get to kind of field test some of the things we're doing and figure out, like I'm a little frustrated with the little configuration over there. So we get to kind of sort a few things out that as we do these presentations that have helped us. We've presented to Beaumont, Warminster. We did a presentation at the Warminster Hamfest, which is also the Eastern EPA, and we're going to be back there again. We're not going to be presenting this year, but we're going to get a table and we're going to set up a demo and maybe do some stuff and try to get some more folks involved that way. And it was pretty well received.
What I was trying to figure out is if you're gonna act as an interim node. So the guy down the street, he can hit me and maybe I can hit one up the road. Do I need to have two radios for him? One for him and one to go to some other interim point?
Depends on what directions you're going. Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
So that, okay.
Potentially, yeah.
And so can two of them on both on -2, can they operate on the same pole? Does he need to have vertical, horizontal separation to work right, wing up?
All of the above. You're gonna have, yeah, you're gonna have to play with the separation, especially if you're doing 2.4. And if you're using 5, then we can do different channels to sort that out. And again, it's a bit of a challenge too, because what we're trying to, so we've got the backbone stuff, and that has to be relatively solid and independent of the individual person, right? So we don't want you to get tired of playing with it and take the node down, and it's providing a needed gap that we need to fill, right?
So need generator power.
Right,
That's what
right. So all the townships that we've been working with, where we've installing in the hospitals, we've got generator power, we're in the data centers, or we have a special room where they allow us to set up our equipment. Those types of things are really, now if you wanted to go full hog and do solar backup and get everything going, and yeah, that's great. There are a few that are doing that. And Bill, in particular, I think in the science campus. Yeah.
For solar backup and that kind of thing like that field. How much power are you talking? Because it's not like, you're running 1,500 watts from.
No, marginal stuff, which has been, the benefit of. And I'm being vague because I don't have all the data right here with me, but we're not talking a lot. I mean, a 7 amp hour battery is going to run.
Right. So some of these new like survivalist, quote generators unquote, would be sufficient.
What, the solar generator thing?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Small one.
Right. They're getting.
Well, I mean, so the challenge there is how are you topping the thing off? Is it hooked to your mains and then you're using it as backup for the mains? Are you have solar coming into it? Are we going to have enough solar to charge it back up again? I mean, when we're talking about sticking things out in the field, we have to worry about having enough daylight.
Ben's, the K-3, example,
Yeah.
That one there.
KQ. He has like, I don't know, not even a 10 amp hour
No.
battery. And until we got past the autumnal equinox, he was not having any problem having it run the station all night.
Yeah.
So, you know, this is, and one of his connections from Upper Providence was to a location called Fancy Hill, which is like 13 air miles away. So,
And he was getting a good connection, sitting on the ground like that.
yeah, and you know, that's a 5-foot pole you're looking at.
Right. The little,
Yeah.
Right. So relatively unobstructed path, not very high, you know. So he's been really pretty successful and like, yeah, 7 amp hour battery with a solar panel charging that most of the time. Although part of the reason he's been running a little low, they've added some additional nodes for 900 megahertz because we do have, although 900 megahertz gets around a lot of things, some trees and things, right? But it's not as well supported by the ardent people as far as firmware, and it is not
cheap.
not cheap, and not all that particularly available anymore in a hobby consumer, pro-consumer.
Good luck finding anything on 33 centimeters.
Right, yeah. So it's a little difficult from that perspective.
What about 23 centimeters?
Yeah,
That might be a little easier to find.
well, I mean, yeah. There's and the biggest range is the 60 gigahertz band, but that's really expensive. Like I said, California guys, because they don't need that many nodes because they're up pretty high and they're, you know, trying to shoot up. They want to go a long distance and they don't want to have any conflicts with stuff.
Is there any X-band equipment available?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's go. Okay, I think I covered pretty much everything, but anything. And then, like I say, a lot of the work's been in Montgomery County so far. Yeah. So I was gonna say we're done pretty much with this, unless there's any questions, and then we can.
I was just gonna say that once I've started playing around with this stuff, I started noticing all of the microwave antennas, street lights. And running the cameras, and so you can get an idea how big of a solar panel they need. They're using these tiny little solar panels, and a lot of them are these tiny dishes, which they look like they're even 10 gigahertz. But they're for relaying the video back to the police station or wherever their traffic control center is.
If we could, maybe one last thing before we get rid of the slides. Let's see if we can do this.
So
Can we click on the, I can click on that channel?
You can log into your code maybe though?
Nah, I won't be able to,
Okay.
I won't be able to get there. Oh, you really got it for the one screen?
I thought 2.4.
Oh, I can move that over to the shared screen.
-1.
No, just -2. Yeah.
I thought it had -1 too.
Yeah, it does have -1, but I think it's too close.
That's right, -1 will overlap.
Yeah.
So it's still.
2.4, so well, I mean, you wanna run 10 measurements.
So that's right, you go either.
Well, it's bandwidth, yeah.
Like for 5 megahertz or even lower.
Right, that's right.
So the question is, if we're gonna have a digital telephony, then you don't need 10 megahertz. We have.
No, not even.
Activity in Greenland.
Yeah, we have a few nodes running at 5, and they're doing fine. Many of them are.
When I say about 2.4, the old WRT 54G routers, the RF cable was available, you could put an amplifier and a Yagi behind it and off you go.
Yeah.
Yes, these things are, everything's in a box, so you have to cut it open and do it.
Yeah, that's true.
Let's see if I can get back out there.
You don't seem to be able to get transmitters, separate transmitters, at least not anywhere near in the price range that you can get these things.
I was talking about the old WRT 54Gs, which you can buy on eBay for like $5 a piece.
Sorry, you guys, yeah.
I have 4 sitting in a cabinet, K through 2.
I have 3 or 4 in my basement.
I actually read that they can interface with.
Oh. Let's not go to China, because there's none there.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, do you?
That's going back.
It's taking a while to get the refresh.
About those, I think it's a 15 Chinese amplifier.
That's cool. Yeah.
Except for nobody told.
You know what? Do me a favor. Go to
The big guy,
JFMDNA.org.
that's a 5.
That, yeah. Yeah, I have those 2 boards. But yeah. For the blue guys, yeah, that's why I started.
If you want to click on it now,
I got a helmet with 2.4 gig,
that'll be better.
helmet sitting in the.
All right, this is the big guy. This is actually showing the network as it currently exists. So you can see that there's the color, the dots of the color signify what frequency they're being used on.
You could pull this up on the web. Website.
Right, yeah, it's on our website. There's a 5-county mesh link there.
I'm admiring those new ones down there in Crooksville. My father-in-law and I put those up on Sunday. I had a great time.
Except for the desert, that's Delaware County.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what is the issue with Delaware? Just don't have a contact?
Yeah, there's one.
Okay. I was just sort of meeting down at the emergency management center on Wednesday.
They like
I
these.
got some people, what's that?
One of the problems is they like these stuff.
Yeah, you know,
Yeah, well, I mean, but they're not competing things. They're different. I mean, they're different purposes. I mean, we're talking about there's a whole ecosystem that we need to kind of think about. I mean, and how we're going to use these things. And this, voice has its place still, but a lot of the things, especially for the emergency ops, data is king these days. And if we can play with some of the data and communications and the textual aspects of it, right? So.
I mean, I could reach out to the people that I met and see, if they didn't know about it, because they might not, but, because I do the, I don't know if you knew this, I know a lot of people do, I do the Skywarn stuff for the weather service, and they're all interested in that, so they do have a contact now.
Yeah.
Try and reach out.
Right. I don't know how we want to do the demo. What do you think, Bill?
Sure, I could kick us off, give it, like anyone else would like to go first.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be a little difficult because of the streaming.
I'll try to-
We can use the camera here.
So hi everybody, I'm Bill Mongan, everyone see, okay, good to see you. And yeah, as you heard, one of the little pet projects we're doing here is setting up some digital communications over this TCP/IP network. And it's actually fairly seamless because a lot of these nodes have auxiliary Ethernet ports on. So you have one power over Ethernet that's plugged in, giving you DC to these nodes, but very often they will have a second port coming out of them, or the power over Ethernet injector that goes into your wall comes with a second port. There's even a cool part 15 Wi-Fi adapter that can plug into the power over the PO injector and actually give you part 15 Wi-Fi, so you can just log in from your laptop as well. So it's a pretty seamless interface. And so these two nodes over here are called, pardon me, are called nanostations. I think they're usually devices. And I have I have 2 of these set up here, and basically down here on the bottom, I've got the PoE injection, and that's plugged into the wall, and into the auxiliary port. I'm running to a Gay-Link office phone, pretty standard. Welcome to check that out. But if you've worked in an office building with a phone on your desk, it was probably one of these. And over on this side, we have a similar setup with the second node. But that also is running to, there's 2 Ethernet ports I have over there. The second one's running to a Raspberry Pi, standard, nothing special, nothing up my sleeve, Raspberry Pi. And that's running some software called FreePDX, which is a PDX manager software. If you've ever dialed into an All-Star Link node with DTMF, if you go to those like analog stations, but you dial in the node number with your DTMF handheld. Well, that's actually the same software that Free PDX is using, Asterisk. And it's bless you. And it's an open source DTM system that Asterisk then interfaces with the PDX. And you can run telephone trunks, set up lots of extensions, and as Bill mentioned earlier, like voicemail. It's pretty office grade quality stuff. And actually, I'll tell you, about 2 weeks ago, I knew very little about how Asterisk and Free PDX worked, aside from that I got a little sharing pie at home that I dial into all cars, so I need to get that every once in a while. So I, did an hour of reading about, okay, how does this thing work? And we do have a PDX on Mesh, but I thought, let's see if I can figure this out and replicate it. I actually found it to be quite seamless. There's installation scripts, if you know how to log into a Raspberry Pi, you're just running some standard software on there. The only difference is the IP address that Pi was pulling down is a private, 10.0.0.0 IP address, and that is in with the rest of the mesh ecosystem. So you're kind of, for all intents and purposes, on the internet, but you're not. You're on this mesh network. And so I brought a little microcosm of that today. I have two telephones here, and just to kind of give me a good infomercial and prove that it works, we'll dial up this one here and dial that. There we go. Looks exactly 80. Oh, thank you, Bill.
Spam politicians call
Hi,
in.
Bill, it's Bill. Yeah. Can I interest you in some free literature about the art of mesh? Your car's warranty. That's right, I'm calling it.
Your student loan debt.
Exactly.
That's business, can't talk about it.
That's right, you can't do area here.
So are politicians not allowed to call on these lines?
I sure hope not. Yeah, I guess that's right there. Yeah, well, forget the whole thing, never mind.
Well, but you need to have an amateur license to be able to do that.
There you go.
Let's say.
Okay. Well, it's this is obviously 10 feet away and so not be in practice, but imagine these being up on towers or up on somebody's rooftop. And your phone thing can just be on your desk.
The whole place, that makes that, there's
That's exactly right. And so for our area Gracie's mesh folks, they have a real, I mean, it's the same as this, but they actually have a PDX running on that mesh. And we have, we call it the backbone, phone sitting on our desk that we all have extensions and we can call each other up. And really, you wouldn't know if you were on a, private, not real internet.
Okay, so I'm a month, my kid racing's great.
Oh, great.
And I would hear, I guess, Rocky saying that it's up. So are they actually like dialing every, each student on those Thursday night charts?
Right, that's
What are they doing?
that is what they're doing. And in fact,
Well,
yeah.
Yeah. Conference, right,
Okay, so they're down in.
So, and
Okay.
David is monitoring the conference room, like, talk to him. When I got into that, and so I knew what.
It's actually 3 mesh nodes that we test every Thursday night. The voice, which is in the conference room, a voicemail, where we can leave a message, and a data, where we keyboard in and leave a message.
What do you use for the addresses?
That's a good question, because I actually went to test this last night and realized I had a little trouble shooting with you. So it actually will, it'll assign DHCP addresses and it's reserved DHCP addresses. So that node is doing DHCP address information.
Well, yeah, but it has to be a link that's called Vista. Yeah, it's dynamic, it's permanent. Okay.
Yeah,
How does that work?
how it works. So this has a host name, and so it supports DNS, so it's like W1CLK, PDX, or whatever.
Where's the DHCP server?
Yeah, okay, so on Arden, that is key. Yeah, that's centralized, right?
Yes.
In this example, it's this one, that's handy.
So one of those access.
as the agent clears. And that was actually the one challenge I had last night when I rolled this out to make sure I had everything right. Was because I had plugged it into a different node, it was still holding on to that DNS entry from the old IP address. And so I just had to like drop that and add it. Network. Yeah.
We're talking about a registry of what maps the IP to the particular instrument.
Yeah, to the node. So in this case, I have the raw IP address in that phone. And that way I don't even have to do the DNS lookup. But
When is that gonna sign?
oh, yeah, so that's decentralized. That's assigned by this and it's I believe it's up in the source code that the IP addresses are actually from the node name and the call time. Is that right? Yeah, so it's all in that /8 network space, the 10.0 network space. But it assigns out the unique IP address right discrete, so these then hand out within a /9
Okay, so the user IP, your ham false on, that's part of your IP.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, has to be the host name. And then they take the application call for that. You have to have ham, the first part of your case. And the rest of it just identifies the particular station. And somehow the station location, that's all managed central or someplace. With physical locations. Well, sorry, voucher doesn't maps. Wait, but I didn't
Oh, that's just OF, that's like a variant of OFDN, so they have like a routing, like healing mesh.
You're on it, as long as you're on the same channel, same bandwidth. The firmware that looks around for the adjacent node, when it finds it, it starts to move. And it tells the adjacent nodes which ones it's.
Yes.
Which ones are
Yes.
And at the node level, they are advertising which device is connected to, so they do actually advertise.
So it's basically the same as, the same algorithm.
Right.
Oh, yeah, there's not any real magic here, other than. So actually, the bad part is the firmware kind of takes away a lot of the functionality.
It's more promiscuous business
Yes.
network would be, it is biased towards making connections. And including duplicative.
And looking for the best connections in this space.
Well, once it has connections.
Well, yeah, there's multiple paths, you've got an algorithm for picking up the optimal, the potential path for this particular. Or waiting to see. Yeah, it looks at that link. Yeah.
Hey, what's it miss?
Yes. Joe, 883JC, is on here, on the phone, he's on the Hamshack hotline,
I'm sorry.
883JC.
Oh, Joe.
Joe, yeah.
Well, I was just about to mention that Joe and I, say hi to Joe for me. We actually set up a DMR, another Raspberry Pi with HB Link or HLink, which is basically your own private randomizer. And we put that on the mesh with an IP address. And so if you have a hotspot, like PiStar on the mesh, you can set a talk group to just rewrite that HT link. And we have not actually rolled that out to the rest of the group yet, but it just went live on Sunday. And as I was about to go to bed, I thought, I'll just test it out and see how it's going. So I keyed it up and threw my call sign out, and I heard, hey, it's A3JC, the only other person that would be on that actually have radio that can talk group into it. So I said, hey, Joe, and now we know it works. It felt like we had our own two little tin cans of string. So yeah. That's right. But hey, Joe, good to have you. Thanks for that.
Thank you.
Hey there. Yeah, so we're having a lot of fun putting some services up there, and again, with the big community service focus, as I heard someone say, it's not the backup or the backup to the backup, but when nothing works, this being distributed in ad hoc can survive, right, can persist, and but of course, my interest is also the educational side, and so we're developing some curricula around our computer networking, IT, things like that in that space. You know, it's just so authentic and community driven. It's a very you know, it's an easy guess, right, to be involved in that kind of thing. So that's certainly been a lot of fun, and actually looking to start a club right after Thanksgiving with my students in the official club. So I went and got my BE, and so we had a couple other BEs in here, so I tried to license some people. We can help with that.
You can parachute the team in.
There you go. That's great.
So if you want to set up an island,
Right.
no mesh anywhere, people are remotely focused, stand up. But you're gonna have to create the mesh over the other.
That's a great question, and this is actually what I'm doing, so at my house, I am coach, I have a few nodes up, a little island, that I just kind of do some fun things to help me actually just get ready to kind of break my class. I'm not really near anybody, and so, I'm actually tunneled, one of my, you know, a couple of my nodes are outside on dishes like you see over there, but I have a app router sitting in my office, and that Wi-Fi connection, it's not great on the apps, but it's just strong enough to hit those outside nodes, so they can actually possibly do that. And then I have that going out with my home router to the internet. And so Joe actually is my tunnel buddy, so he's making me a tunnel that I expect.
So you got a mesh out there that
I'm like, I
can't talk to anything.
that's why it's
So then his connection to the internet is coming through your house.
goes through there and then it goes down, yeah, and so the goal is if, you know, for example, St. Glenn and Brigham Alley down in Chester County, area Gracie, he's actually one of my closest, so we're gonna try to make it hard, it doesn't look promising with the rocks there, but I'm just trying. And if we can, then we will slowly start to decondition those, internet tunnels, and that's our long-term goal, to not be tunnel dependent, but we're beginning by creating these islands, and if you build it, they will come, and islands will reach other islands. From my campus, I'm actually able to reach the EOC from our sinus at about 3 miles. So we're gonna set up an island on the campus that will be instantly RF connected with them.
So can you go to one of these nodes and say, what other nodes can this reach?
Yeah, in fact, Bill's back here, you were, or actually, no, we were, yeah, one of you guys was logged in there. So before we're done, maybe if it's still available, you can show them what that looks like.
So I saw a map with the locations of the nodes, but.
You can go
You
to the
know-
node,
Yeah.
you go to the node's webpage and you can ask who is connected,
Yeah.
and it'll tell you.
So if there's a node that's only connected to one,
Yeah,
you know that's the risk.
and when you stand up a node, you're supposed to put Latin long on it. There's some, you know, you can get a general area.
Can you get the other nodes to verify the lat long? Somehow, like.
No,
it's under.
You type it in when you go. They'll also, I don't know if you saw, yeah, eagle eye when you were watching the map, the little nodes are actually directional, so they're pointing, so they type in the azimuth and the elevation that and all that. Which in theory, you can try to do.
The color of the lines also notes whether it's RF. So you can tell from the map, so there's very little RF, there are some, you see green. Yeah, you see that line. It works. Schools get all the green, doesn't help that.
How much is the CS starting with something like this?
I think we should bring that.
So I've been fairly impressed. My ticket into the ardent journey has been mostly through like eBay. So I go on eBay and I'll find a Nano for like, I don't know, 30 or 40 bucks. That's these guys here, yeah. The hacks come in a couple of different varieties. There's like more memory, and as the firmware is getting more sophisticated, it's sort of better to go to the higher ones. So they're maybe close to $100 new. But
Like a router.
I'm so sorry. Yeah, that's right. The app is the router that you'll see.
Maybe based on the chart of the appendix, it will intensity look like a normal home router.
Okay.
One of those.
And you need that to connect to an internet backbone.
That would get inside.
That would be the first purchase.
Yeah.
Oh, man, that, from my perspective, that would be the first purchase, the tunnel installed. And then
And one of these, right? You probably want that.
Yes.
It would be better.
You know, I have a smaller one. And I have laptop, I plug into it, I have a phone. I do not have a node because there's nobody around that I could talk to with a node. Now, one of the things that we love to see is you know, more nodes around, and I can see, like, right now, as you can see, showing here, I have, on my property, direct view of the Philmont Valley.
So that's a half. That's one of the older ones with, so you're limited from a memory capacity perspective.
Yeah, that's like 32, we're shooting this with.
Yeah, so I'm using, actually, I have one of those, I took it out of the truck.
In theory, you could, the challenge would be having out firmware that's been put for it. And so they do actually build out firmwares for, there's a whole table of like all the different types of devices they send.
In the presentation, there's a link to the
Yeah, the art.
to the art site, but if you just go to the art site and look for compatible hardware, it'll show you the, and there's a link from on our website for that.
I found the other day, someone's on eBay selling the half threes, that's the highest version of those that's compatible. It was like for $40 or $60.
Wow.
Fire sale, I got a couple of them around the house. But and I find these guys for maybe $40, and there's a TP Link version that's pretty much as capable, and I think they're down to like $20. And I think those dishes are probably a little closer to 100. So you can go up or down, maybe they're just
75. Yeah.
So it's sort of in that kind of range, and you can get a lot of mileage on some used stuff. A lot of folks are taking these things down to put up, something more directional, but they're more than capable for a local, local connection.
Is there any kind of an omnidirectional version of that?
Yeah, I even think that one is actually omnidirectional. I think that one does have a back.
Well, just 4 and 4 of them, I guess.
Yeah,
because of.
Well, that's what you have to be careful, I mean, that's what the sector antennas are, typically you see on a tower, you see one on each leg of the tower. And depending on the angle.
At the EOC, in Montgomery County, they have one, they have 4 sectors, I think it's 4 sectors, but sector antennas. And 3 of them, 3 sectors, 4 plus or minus 1. And one of them is running on channel 4. The other ones are on channel -2, and that mitigated the kind of crosstalk between them, so they're trying to link to each other. So that kind of thing is working pretty well, getting good versions.
How far is Philmont Tower from here?
Little less than 2 miles,
So 2 miles is a bit of a stretch for this.
For that, it would be, you're gonna get pretty much like your home router, so you can.
No, you definitely.
Your neighbor baby.
You need something outside with like any of those guys.
Right, but if you got one of those, are you going 2 miles with that?
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, I took, this car is very tripod, so I get.
15-20 miles.
So
Yeah, drive around your neighborhood.
Fine.
And somebody will follow you.
What is that?
One of these,
Well, assuming we don't have our
right, and well, and I can at least say from experience, I took this to the 3rd floor of an office building, basically, so modest, and pointed through glass. So non-lead glass, that's right, at a distance of about 3 miles, and it was very weak. I wouldn't say that it was a usable picture, I could see it, and as soon as I got on the other side of the glass, it looked like usable. These, see, I think they might be omnidirectional. Are the nano stations
Not significant.
They're, no, okay, so they're omnidirectional.
I think they're 65.
65, okay.
There's also, you go on, you use.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Well, this is all a trade-off between,
It's like, it kind of like goes between this and those dishes, like the,
The folks mentioned it might be omnidirectional, but it's on something, which means it's giving you no either way.
In a shadow.
Yeah,
well, you can see
yeah.
it, that's it.
Yeah, I mean, I put one on a T-post, you know, one of those farm fence T-posts, that's probably 5 feet. And just zip tie it, and, you know, I'm able to pretty much capture all the nodes that are like on my property. I haven't done a range test to see, but it wouldn't be hard to do with one of those little, the GL routers. They're tiny, they'll fit the palm of your hand, and they have 2 little antennas, there's USB connected with your laptop, so, you know, you could get in your car, driving around, you can do that straight. There's a button, called Wi-Fi scan on the interface, tell you they're not connected to them. What it see, so it's used, leave that, and I think it even has an audio, but you don't have to look down at it, it's sort of pitch, it's much stronger. That doesn't really answer your question, which is like, what is the theoretical? Yeah, I would guess it's like, I can certainly, I've gone as far as 3, with one of these, not, you know, in pretty suboptimal conditions, the water tower. That water tower is directly in my path or my office. And so I would say that the theoretical max is most likely better than that, but I'm not sure quite.
I think it's important to point out that on the mesh network that exists today, even if you tunnel into it, you can see every connection that's on it. Typically, it's in the 90s, 90 connections, which may be 250 applications.
That's a good point. You should probably see, we'll get a map, you know.
Yeah, you'll be able to pull up the map.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
An example of the weather, like,
You say IT systems is your favorite, you want to demo to.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't hear you.
Alright, I think we'll wrap it up. I want to thank everyone for joining us online. Here's an extreme close-up. Thank you very much for joining us, and we will see you next month, or in January rather. Have a happy Thanksgiving and happy holidays.